All right, now we'll leave you with the following story. This is one of the most romantic stories that I know of. We aired it a few years back for a program that we produced on space. Carl Sagan, as in the Carl Sagan of billions and billions, that Carl Sagan, in 1977 was asked by NASA to compile essentially a mixtape of the human experience. They asked him to basically go out into the world, record all of the sounds that reflect human life on this planet, put it onto a gold record, put the record into a capsule, shoot the capsule into space so that many millions of years from now, perhaps some alien will run across the capsule, somehow play the record, and learn about us. That was the idea. And so Carl Sagan appointed Annie Druyan as the leader of the team that would choose those sounds. And I spoke with Annie many years ago about the process that she went through to choose those sounds. I visited her upstate at her home, and we sat in the backyard near a waterfall. That's the sound that you will hear. And she described how she chose those sounds.
My name is Annie Druyan, and I was honored to be the creative director of the Voyager Interstellar Message Project, which began in early 1977.
Now, how did this come about? I think about the project now, and it's so exciting to think about. I mean, it's such a romantic idea. Did you know that at the time?
Absolutely. We felt, first of all, that this was a kind of sacred trust, that here we were, half a dozen very flawed human beings with huge holes in our knowledge of all of these subjects, building a cultural Noah's Ark. It was a chance to tell something of what life on Earth was like to beings of perhaps 1,000 million years from now, because the Voyager engineers were saying this record will have a shelf life of 1 billion years. If that didn't raise goosebumps, then you'd have to be made of wood. It was also the season that Carl Sagan and I fell so madly in love with each other. And here we were taking on this mythic challenge and knowing that before it was done, 2 spacecraft would lift off from the planet Earth, moving at an average speed of 35,000 miles an hour for the next 1,000 million years. And on it would be a kiss, a mother's first words to her newborn baby.
Oh, come on now.
Mozart, Bach, Beethoven. Greetings in the 59 most populous human languages.
Shalom.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
As well as one non-human language, the greetings of the humpback whales. And it was a sacred undertaking because it was saying, we want to be citizens of the cosmos. We want you to know about us.
Tell me about the moment you fell in love with Carl Sagan. You said it was during the Voyager compilation.
Yes, it was. It was on June 1st, 1977. I had been looking for some time for that piece of Chinese music that we could put on the Voyager record and not feel like idiots for having done so. And I was very excited because I'd finally found a ethnomusicologist, composer at Columbia University, who told me without a moment's hesitation that this piece, Flowing Streams, which was represented to me as one of the oldest pieces of Chinese music, 2,500 years old, was the piece we should put on the record. So I called Carl, who was traveling. He was in Tucson, Arizona, giving a talk. And we had been alone many times during the making of the record and as friends for 3 years. And neither of us had ever said anything to the other. We were both involved with other people. We'd had these wonderful, soaring conversations, but we had both been completely just professional about everything and as friends. And he wasn't there, left a message. Hour later, phone rings. pick up the phone, and I hear this wonderful voice. And he said, I get back to my hotel room, and I find this message, and it says, Annie called. And I say to myself, why didn't you leave me this message 10 years ago? And my heart completely skipped a beat. I can still remember it so perfectly. And I said, for keeps? And he said, you mean get married? And I said, yes. And we had never kissed. We had never, even had any kind of personal discussion before. We both hung up the phone, and I just screamed out loud. I remember it so well because it was this great eureka moment. It was just like a scientific discovery. And then the phone rang, and I was thinking, oh shit, and the phone rang, and it was Carl, and he said, I just want to make sure that really happened. We're getting married, right? And I said, yeah, we're getting married. He said, okay, just wanted to make sure. And the spacecraft lifted off on August 20th, and August 22nd, we told everyone involved, and we were together from that moment until his death in 1996 in December.
Wow, talk about romantic, my
It was
God.
so romantic, and part of my feeling about Voyager, obviously, and part of what I was feeling in the recording of my brainwaves, my heart, my eyes, everything, in that meditation on the record. I had asked Carl whether or not it would be possible to compress the impulses in one's brain and nervous system into sound, and then put that sound on the record, and then think that perhaps the extraterrestrials of the future would be able to reconstitute that data into thought. And he looked at me in beautiful May Day in New York City and said, well, 1,000 million years is a long time, why don't you go do it? Because who knows, who knows what's possible in 1,000 million years. And so my brainwaves and REM, every little sound that my body was making was recorded at Bellevue Hospital in New York. This was 2 days after Carl and I declared our love for each other. And so what I often think is that maybe 100 million years from now, somebody flags that record down. And I always wonder, because part of what I was thinking in this meditation was about the wonder of love and of being in love, and to know it's on those 2 spacecraft. Even now, whenever I'm down, I'm thinking, and still they move 35,000 miles an hour, leaving our solar system for the great wide open sea of interstellar space.
Annie Druyan. Thank you for listening to the Radiolab podcast. This is Your Brain on Love. The event at the Brooklyn Brewery was produced by Ellen Horn, Lulu Miller, and myself, Jad Abumrad. Special thanks to the Brooklyn Brewery, Neely Tucker of the Washington Post, Helen Fisher, Annie Druyan, Michael McManus, and the entire WNYC event staff. Those molecular stings that you heard during the event, dopamine, norepinephrine, and oxytocin, were created by I Am Jen, and you can find more of her music at her MySpace page, myspace.com/IamJen. That's IAMJEN. She's got a new CD out, great music. Check her out. And of course, super special thanks to everyone who came out to the event. We hope you found what you were looking for. And also, lastly, thank you to Sarah Pellegrini, who edited and produced this podcast. I'm Jad Abumrad. Thanks for listening.